For this week's Thursday live broadcast, I'm Honor, the host of Overwhelm Solution for Moms, and I have a coaching program where I help many people, many of whom are in this community, moms to become confident, steady, moms who are thriving, not just like for their families, but for yourself as well. And so today I'm going to be touching on a topic that Coach Laney, who works in my programs with me, Coach Laney, who some of you know, and I were talking earlier this week about how a lot of times the questions that we get from this community are around how to help my kids. And I was the same way when my kids were younger. My focus was so geared toward them being healthy, toward them feeling good, toward them having what they needed to be okay before I ever thought of myself. And I get it. That sometimes like that's all you can do. So today we're going to talk about having some crazy light show going on here. Hold on. See if I can, I don't know. Maybe we can move this over. Okay, let's see. All right. Can you guys hear me? So today, what we're going to be talking about is how to help your kids regulate. And when I say regulate, I mean calm down, um, be able to handle their emotions, be able to regulate their emotions appropriate to their age. So I want to frame this talk first by saying that there are a lot of you out there who wish that you could just, push a button on the remote control and your kid's meltdown would stop, or that you had some magic words to be able to help your kid calm down. And the reality is that our children of all ages are still learning how to use their reasoning mind. They're still learning how to understand their emotions. And depending on how much you've taught them about these things, depending on how much you have been a strong, steady presence for them through their years of growing up, they're only going to know that, right? So it's not their fault. It's not that there's something wrong with them, which I see parents go there a lot, and that really hurts my heart. That doesn't help. We want to be able to help our children to be responsible for or in ownership of themselves. Why? That makes life so much better for you as a mom. That makes life more enjoyable for us as moms. I have two girls that are a tween and teen, and I have been working with them since the very beginning of having them. I was a therapist before I had them, and I've been working with them to understand emotions. And that is probably the number one skill that I am so grateful I gave my kids, because they are empathic, they have empathy, they are aware, self-aware, aware of others, they are kind, they're compassionate. And I know kind of like some things are nature, some things are temperament, but so many of these things we can train into our kids. And it begins with understanding emotions, helping them regulate their emotions. So this week, this idea really comes to the forefront. And I apologize that I'm not seeing any of your comments, you guys. When you come on live, tell me hello, and let me see if the comments will pop up. Give me some hearts and give me some likes. It was on Instagram, in one of the sort of pages that I follow, and I was listening to a little snippet of another parenting expert, and I'm not sure what her credentials are, to be honest, but I don't know what her experience is working with people directly. But one of the things she said was she was speaking to like an audience of parents, and she was saying, the way to help our kids regulate is to like calm yourself down. You have to calm yourself down. And she said something like, you need to just stop and take a breath and get control of yourself so that you can then do these tools and help your kids regulate. And that right there is the part that in all my years of following Janet Lansbury and gentle parenting and lots of other really cool approaches, as my kids were younger and growing up, I thought everyone's missing it. Everyone's missing it. And this is where I created Awaken Motherhood to really fill that gap. And that's why people come and work with me. the part that parenting experts talk about, or all the books underlie, is this you've got to do these things to understand your kid. You got to do these things to support your kid. You've got to do these things. And they're all kid focused or problem focused. And the real issue is that, and I've heard people say this year in and year out in my practice, is that you actually need a skill set to be able to create calm in your own body and in your own mind to implement anything that will help your child. And there is no way around that. That really is like that is a part that if you have tried to skip over that to be present for your child when they are being rude, mean, aggressive, wild, panicked, overwhelmed, crying, screaming, when your child is dysregulated with a Y, DYS, dysregulated, then the thing that you'll notice is you become dysregulated almost instantly with them. And you may be able to hold out for a couple minutes, but if you're being honest with yourself, what you'll notice, and I had a lot of practice, a lot of skills, well before my children came into the world, and they came into the world, and all of it really became irrelevant. All of that, those pre-children skills became irrelevant in the moments where I had a child I could not soothe. She was unsoothable in not all the time, but like much of the time. And not just infancy or that like 0 to 6 months, but for years beyond that, through different phases and for different reasons. This is just the magnificent person that she is. And I had to create a new plan. I had to create a new way of being strong within myself to be able to help her learn about her emotions and to regulate her emotions. Okay, so that's where I'm coming from. That's my background. That's how I learned this. That's why I started Awaken Motherhood. That's why I'm creating new offers all the time and teaching in these workshops, in the free workshops, because I know that I had years and years of practice and skills and had worked with kids who you've probably heard me say were like ripping doors off the hinges. Like I worked with kids who were so dysregulated, training their parents, coaching their parents to learn how to do these skills I'm talking about with you today, because I knew that once I worked so hard and really suffered through that and learned from so many experts and really searched my soul to develop these skills, everyone needed them. No one else should have to go through what I went through to be able to learn the skills to just feel like a good enough mom. A good enough mom, a mom whose kids feel safe with her emotionally, who learn about their own sense of well-being within their bodies. And that's really what we're talking about today. Okay, so I had the feeling that my Facebook is not, okay. Thanks, Coach Laney. I think you might see me now. This has been hard to try to come on. Hopefully I'm in the right place. If you guys can see me and I'm in Overwhelm Solution for Moms, please hit the like button and let me just see if I can see any of that. I'm kind of like I'm in a place where I can't see any of you, which is always so super frustrating, but drop me comments and questions as it goes. So this is where I'm coming from. This is my background. I have 2 girls, a teen and a tween. I learned really from the weeds that we cannot make a child calm down. We cannot wrap them up in enough love and calm sometimes to calm them down. And this is something parents get really frustrated about. But there are certain things you can do. And I'm going to talk about 2 very simple strategies today. So stay with me. 2 very simple strategies today that will help you to have a starting point. I know many of you have taken your kids to therapy. You have not been supported. You have not been trained. Therapists are often very, very unaware of skills that deal with the nervous system or with calming down the primal brain, or even just neuroscience. That's not like typical training for all therapists. So That's what we're going to be. That's again, like where I'm coming from today when I'm helping you with these things. So let's just start off with describing the problem a little bit, as a precursor to these strategies. And so when parenting experts say, like, and Janet Lansbury says often, if any of you who follow her, and I really do like her approach, but her training is just parent coach, and and um, and I think her experience goes deep through working with her her clients that she coaches. However, there's a lot left on the table, and so just like to say a little bit about like when kids are out of control, that might be if you have a teenager slamming a door saying "I hate you," walking out of the house. It might be if you have a younger child, they may get physically aggressive. They may scream at you. They may cry, hyperventilate, vomit, like any of these things, depending on the temperament of your kid. I remember one time very distinctly when I was trying to just see if my child could work through. This is like I shouldn't even start the story, but I'll just give you a snippet of my life. Like, I think she was just under a year, maybe something like that, and had gone through bouts of like sleeping more than 2 hours, like starting to push like to 2 hours or more of sleep a night, but like here and there, very sporadically, very randomly. And all the other times in between, there was just a lot of screaming at night. A lot of screaming at night, a lot of like my nervous system was hijacked for years and years. I had to do a lot of my own inner work to piece myself back together. I was just like the puzzle pieces were thrown everywhere. My brain, my nervous system, my emotional. I felt like a raw nerve, and I can remember like during one of these bouts of like we used to have to. My husband would. We lived in Oakland, California at the time, and my husband would like hit the streets in the middle of the night with her and the baby carrier at 2 a.m., which was just all we could do. Like that was all we could think to do for one of us to get a little bit of sleep. And then she would, the fresh air would hit her and she would calm down. This beautiful little child who had us by the throat, honestly, for years. And she's a magnificent person. And I'm so proud to be her mom. And she taught me so, so much. Honestly, she taught me so, so much about how to grow within me to be the strong mother that she needed. And for that, I am forever grateful, forever, ever grateful. And my husband as well. And so I can remember like one of these times, like he needed to sleep and it just kind of like being in the rocker near her crib or out the door or whatever. And her crying so much that she wedged herself into the corner of her bed. And it was one of these moments as a mom of like, I finally just was like, I can't take the primal screaming anymore. It had gone on for so long. And this isn't something I normally did, but like, everyone tells you sleep train, all the books, and no, it's such a great idea. And it's just not for all kids. It's not for everyone. It's not for all moms. And she came up out of the corner of her bed with a big bruise and goose egg, having vomited in the bed. Like, is this an overshare? Probably. But I just want you to know that I get it. I understand. I have worked through so many layers of my own guilt and frustration and hopelessness even and defeat and into like action, into learning, into action, into productive action so that I could create a system for myself that was from within me to be able to feel like I was not just like giving her what she needed, but there was room for me to grow as a person too, as a whole person, right? So, okay, let's just like these are like some extremes, and some of you, very lucky ones of you, have kids who cry for a few minutes and stop. And just say a little prayer of thanks right now that is the kid that you got, if you got one of those kids. And it doesn't make it any less hard when they do cry because their cells are in our bodies and we literally feel it on a physical level, their pain. So here's like, here's what happens energetically when your kid goes off, when they get when they get overwhelmed, we'll just call it that. then we can literally, some of you say yes in the chat if you can feel it in your body, because that's like a highly sensitive person reaction, or an empath will do that too. Some people, like, I think, who like, it must be nice, and I kind of am envious of this, to be able to like not feel anything in your body. And that may be your experience too. So if you can feel, if you like are pained by when your kids are in pain, just say yes, so I know like where you guys are coming from. Others of you will just feel angry, annoyed, frustrated that it's getting in your way or slowing you down or interrupting your day, or you'll feel so irritable or on edge, overstimulated. I hear a lot of that. Touched out, like kids are crying or grabbing or clingy, or that's when they're younger, obviously. So it can look like a lot of different things. But what's really happening is the frontal cortex of the brain, I describe it as going offline. So it's kind of like, if you imagine like there's this reasoning, it's the reasoning mind. It's the part that can think through things, or hear someone say something that's makes sense or is logical. And we live in that as functional adults most of the time, when we're at our jobs, or when we're making a family plan, or when we are, doing the things of life, the everyday things. That's the reasoning brain, the frontal cortex. When something upsets us or scares us, that goes whoop, and it flips. That's like flip your lid. That's what that means. So we kind of flip the lid. The reasoning mind goes offline, shuts down. And then what happens is we're in that reptilian brain, the primal brain. It's back here. So the reptilian brain is totally unable to process emotions. It's the fight, flight, survival mechanism that kicks in. Okay, you with me? So with that, the just to see, yeah, still can't see your comments. I will check back. With that, the way to help your kids regulate is to help get them back, like out of survival brain into that reasoning brain again. But what parents make the mistake of doing is their kids are already upset or escalated or arguing with them, or you can tell they're like teetering on the edge, and parents will try to reason with their kids. Parents will try to kind of match the energy or convince them of something, or reason with them, or offer them something, and it doesn't work, because what's happened is your kid has already moved from that like reasoning mind, or already really edging into that primal brain. And so, and you probably can think of an example of when you had an interaction with your child or teenager, and they're just not hearing you. They're just not listening to you. They're already fuming. They're angry. They're crying. They're upset. You're trying to, if they're younger, you're trying to like physically comfort them, and they're like, no, they're throwing you off, or they're hitting, or they're punching or biting or whatever. And that's when they're already in that primal brain. So the first thing to know is, like, if you're trying to reason with them and talk to them, they're not going to be able to hear you. So strategy number 1 is to drop your agenda. Ooh, it's so hard. Oh, it's so hard. You need to get to work. You need to get them to school. You need to get in the meeting. You need to take the call. You need to hit the deadline. I know. And I also know that if you continue to push your agenda, whether it's a timeline or got to get your shoes on now, get out the door now, you can't be late, or if it's I hear you. Like, sometimes you just have a meeting, you have a presentation, you have to do the thing. But what I know from experience is, when you continue to push your agenda and just try to fit them in it and shove them into that, like what you need them to do, that it's going to push them further into the survival mode. It's push them further into their emotions. Make sense? So they're not going to hear you. They're going to get more frantic, more panicked, more deeply entrenched into like their no, right? And so strategy number 1 is drop the agenda, because your goal needs to, in that moment, for you to get where you need to go, for you to make your work meeting, for you to get them to school, your goal needs to change from getting them to do the thing that you want them to do. Parents have meltdowns at the dinner table. It's like, you need to eat, or whatever, like, you can't get off your screen. Don't bring your screen to the table. And it's like, then boom, everyone explodes. The goal in that moment goes from like, put your screen away or eat your dinner, to let's see if we can calm you down. That's the goal. The goal has to change. So the outcome, instead of the thing you want to happen, there's suddenly a bigger outcome. And you guys just need to recognize it. There's a bigger outcome. The bigger outcome, the goal here is helping them return to their reasoning brain so that you can stay in your reasoning brain and in your body. Okay. So I just want you guys to come with me for a minute. Just imagine that you've had like just the day from hell. You've hit your limit. Everything went wrong. It's all your fault. And you finally like crumble. You're home, you're done with your day, with your work, with a crisis or whatever. And you just crumble and dissolve into tears and the feeling of defeat, right? It's just not going the way you want it to go. It's a horrible feeling, isn't it? We all have days like that. And imagine like your partner, spouse, or your sister or something moving past you at a quick pace and saying, it's no big deal. It's over. Move on. Move on. Forget that. Keep going, to push you to keep going. And really just imagine for a minute what that would do to you. It's awful, right? Think about it. It's awful for somebody to minimize what you feel or to try to just push you through it. Like, don't feel that. Or, oh, I'm so sorry you're sad, but come on, it's time to go. You gotta drop that agenda, and it's not going to take as long as you think it is. Probably, maybe it will if you have the 1% kind of kid. Then maybe it will be a 45-minute. But let me tell you, even with that, you're better off just being still through it and being present through it than trying to like move them out of it. So the first thing you do under this drop your agenda strategy is just acknowledge their frustration, acknowledge their feeling, and try to name it. Oh, I can see you're so frustrated. That's how it can sound. I can see you're so frustrated right now. I can see you're so mad at me right now. Okay. That kind of thing. Keep it simple. Don't go off on a tangent or get on your podium. Just like, I can see you're so frustrated right now. I'm not frustrated. Oh, okay. That's it. Okay. Keep it simple. It seems like you might need a few minutes to regroup. It seems like you might need a minute. Seems like you might need a few minutes. This works with kids maybe 4 and up. 2 and 3, you can probably still pull them in your lap. You just need to know that nothing good will come out of pushing through their feeling. And sometimes distraction, parents get lucky with kids who can bounce out of a feeling really quickly. And that, again, is temperament and nature. It's not a parenting thing. If you got lucky and you had a kid like that, you can, oh my gosh, look at the bird, look at that bird, and your kid's like, oh, bing, and they forgot what was just happening for them. That's awesome if you have a kid like that. I do not have kids like that. If distraction works, you can do that, but not from a place of trying to ignore their feeling. It is just like, hey, I know you're feeling that. And also like, oh, wow, cool. Look at that thing. So it sounds more like that. So that's the strategy number 1. All right. So drop your agenda. When you are just trying to like acknowledge their feeling, you can also offer proximity, meaning gentle physical contact. If you are calm, I'm putting this at the back because I know that a lot of people in this community do not have a baseline of calm. They do not have control of their nervous system. So depending on where you are, if you do feel like a relaxed person, you're the captain of your ship, you're at the helm, you feel like you have control of your emotions, then you can do this. You can acknowledge their emotions. You can offer gentle proximity, just means be nearby. You might say, do you need a hug? If you have a kid who's open to that, you might just place a hand gently on them. Again, your kid. If this is triggering for your kid, don't do it. But if you are like agitated, annoyed, upset, trying to pretend like you're not, don't do this. They see right through it. They know. This will cause a break in the trust and in the connection. It just makes relationships much harder. Just be honest with who you are and where you're at with this. And then the second strategy, you guys, is to slow down your pace. Slow down your pace. What do I mean when I say that? I mean your physical pace. So we're always doing, right? You're doing. You're doing this, you're doing that. You're you're busy, you're cranking through, the kid's having a meltdown. When my kids were younger, it was like leaving the park. I'm doing work on my phone while they're at the park, and then I'm connecting with them for a few minutes to support the transition before we leave the park. I'm letting them know how long we have. I'm telling them, and I know they're tired and hungry and whatever, and it's time to go. It's the end of the day, and I'm preparing. And then inevitably, every time, okay, now that was it. Look at the time, and it's time to go. Someone would just completely turn to just crumble. And at that stage, there are like I have a few tools available to me, but essentially I need to take them and leave with them to leave the park. So what I'm going to do is move in closer, and I'm going to slow down myself, because if I'm just trying to, hey, time to go, we got to get dinner, and I'm trying to like hurry and rush them through the process, they're going farther into the primal brain and more into survival mode. And now it's kicking and screaming and fighting and all these things. But if I can slow myself down and get down onto their level and really get into that space where there's connection happening, real connection happening. And I can just slow down my movements. Like, body language is huge, and you guys can utilize this, but really slowing down your physical space instead of packing up and rushing and come on and dancing around them. It's just like, I'm taking a deep breath and I'm dropping into that space, and I'm getting down on their level, and I'm looking at them and I'm saying, hey, we agreed that we're going to go at this time, and now is that time. So I need you to do this. I need XYZ. I need your cooperation. So I'm slowing myself down, and I'm also like internally, I'm slowing down my breath, my pace, my heart rate. I'm slowing everything down so that I can be a steady energy for my kid to ground near or into. Okay, so to accomplish this one, you really need to establish a level of awareness of yourself that is high enough so that you know what you're feeling. Because if you're not aware of what you're feeling, if you don't know when you're irritated or agitated, or you're short of breath, or you feel tension here, or you're constricting, contracting, if you don't notice those things, then how are you going to notice when you're amped up? Right? If you're normally revved up, if you're kind of if you run high energy or anxiety, or you kind of operate at a quick pace, and a lot of full-time moms are like, full-time working moms, you're just operating up here at this really high kind of energy, and you don't know the difference because you never are kind of in your body or calm or at this baseline. Then you don't have that to return to. So if you're calm normally, and you know what it feels like, and you have an experience of knowing how calm feels in your body or how relaxed feels in your body, then you have something to return to. You can notice, well, I'm getting like amped up. I'm starting to get frustrated. Okay, now I'm going to look for that baseline again, and I'm going to do it by slowing myself down. So the more agitated, escalated, whatever, worked up your kids get, the more slow, the more intentional you want to become. Okay. So tell me if this is making sense for you guys. I mean, the reality of all of this is like, some of you may be hearing me and you might feel like, I can't do any of those things. Like, that's why I'm here. I'm trying to learn how to slow down, how to calm down. The best way for you to know where to begin, if these are too out of reach for you, is to book a free resource call with me. That is a 15-20 minute call where we hop on, and it's for free for you, and I will assess where you're at and kind of what track we can sort of put you on of learning, because there's so many resources here, and there's so many different kind of ways I would guide people depending on where they're coming from. So if you want the help, that's here for you. That's a free 15-minute slot, and you can book that one. And I can drop it in the chat. I'm not sure if, I think you guys are probably here. But I guess Facebook still isn't showing me. It's like, it's in rare form today. Here's the link, just in case it's not there. I dropped a comment and you all showed up. Look at that. Awesome. Okay, perfect. Hi Jessica. Hi Lainey. All right. So there's the link. You guys book your call. And, these strategies are ones that, again, like they came from my lived experience, and I had to learn and grow and work with a lot of different kinds of experts to develop these in a way that would work in motherhood and in parenting, because no one else is really talking about this in the way that we do here. So I am happy to have a resource call with you and point you in the right direction. If you are like, I want to have a real conversation about where I'm stuck, because I know you're the person that I might want to work with, then book a clarity call. And the clarity call is for those of you who do feel really called to create, like, find solutions. You know that you want that and you're ready to invest in that and you want the help. Book a clarity call, and I'll drop that link there too. And that one is a longer call. It's free as well. But that will give you, actually, I'm going to have to type it out because they don't have it. I'll drop it in. I'll drop it in after. I don't want to take time to do it. Okay, guys, I'll look back. Drop your questions, drop your comments. Get on the calendar with us so that we can figure out how to help you now and you don't waste more time. Our kids are growing and changing all the time. And, if you know that things are not on the track you want them to be on, until you take action, they're not going to change. Your kids aren't going to figure it out on their own. They need to learn it from somewhere. And if you're here and you're wanting to learn, this is the best place for them to learn it from. So let's get you the help that you need. All right. Okay, you guys, until next time, I'll see you then. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.